Hi there, welcome back. My name is Emma. Welcome back to Posture Labs and Alignment Fundamentals. Here we go over each yoga pose, different tips, tricks, and the correct alignment for that pose. Today is episode 17 and we'll be covering Eagle Pose, Garudasana. There's a lot that goes into this pose, but I'm going to break it down for you. I like to think of it as two separate parts, the arms and the legs. First, let's go ahead and get our eagle arms set up. I'll have you take your arms in opposite directions, out wide like a T. Wrap your right arm under your left arm so your elbows are crossed. Then bend your elbows so the backs of the hands come towards each other. Think about bringing your right hand towards you, left hand away from you. From there, you want to get palms together. Your elbows will be up at your shoulder height, and you're kind of pressing your forearms forward to feel some space in your upper back. Now, for a lot of people, this is not possible, especially people with big biceps or shoulders. A lot of men struggle with this pose. Not to say women don't either. If a woman has larger breasts, she also might struggle with this pose as well. So there's lots of different factors that go into each pose, and it's not always just based on your flexibility. A lot of it has to do with muscle mass and the bone structure, lots of different things. So if that doesn't work out for you, I think elbows crossed, grab opposite elbows is a great place to start, or opposite shoulders is a great place to start. You're still feeling a stretch through your upper back. Now, if that doesn't feel good either, it just feels a little claustrophobic, you can try to bring your forearms together and your forearms to touch, like long prayer hands. This way you're also feeling some space in the upper back. You can even lift your elbows up at shoulder height, just like we do with eagle arms, and you're still getting a very similar sensation through your lats and your shoulders. So those are lots of different options for your eagle arms. You're always welcome to take one of those. Now the second part is the legs. And some people get confused which arm placement goes with which leg placement. I like to think about the elbow kissing the knee. So if the right arm goes on the bottom, then your right leg will come up and over your left. If the left arm is on the bottom, your left leg will come up and over. Usually the teacher will explain this if you're taking a class, or in my class, I'll always tell you which leg and which arm goes under, so you don't have to think about it yourself. For the legs, there's also lots of options. To start, I like to think of using your toes as a kickstand. So you might bend into your knees like chair pose, lift your right knee up, and wrap your right leg over your left. And now put your right toes onto the mat like a kickstand. This way you're still squeezing your inner thighs towards each other, but you have a little extra to balance on. From here, you'll take your right arm under your left, and this is a modified eagle pose. You might notice your body wants to lean forward. Imagine sliding down a wall behind you. Pull your belly button back and knit your ribs in. Think about the elbows and the knees being in one line. Slide down an imaginary wall behind you. Feel a gentle lift through the back of your skull. And release that. Let's go ahead and do that on the other side. Bend into your knees a bit like chair pose. Take your left leg up and wrap it over your right. Use your toes as a kickstand. Still squeeze your inner thighs. Pull your pelvic floor up and in and your belly button back. Now take your left arm underneath your right arm for eagle arms. Sit down a little bit lower and squeeze your legs. Feel a gentle scoop of your tailbone, like you're sinking the tailbone down and the crown of the head is lifting. Lift your elbows to shoulder height if they're not already, and press your forearms forward so you feel space in your upper back. And then go ahead and release that. All right, second option is to take a single or double wrap with your legs. Now, let's bend into the knees like chair pose. I actually like to do the arms first, so you have that all set up, and once you're balancing, you don't have to worry about flailing your arms around. So let's take eagle wrapped arms, right arm underneath left. Remember your variations if this doesn't feel good. Now bend into your knees, lift your right leg up, and over your left. You can single wrap like I'm doing, or you could tuck your right toes behind your left calf, kind of hook them there for a double wrap. As you do that, your knees want to go over to the left, which you'll see here. I want to bring my knees back to center and my elbows a little bit to the right, so everything is stacked, one on top of the other. Sit down nice and low, squeeze your legs, forearms forward. Imagine sliding down a wall behind you. Squeeze your legs for 3, 2, 1, unwind. Now one side might be easier than the other. That's why I always like to give the options for modified eagle, a single wrap or a double wrap. Obviously, the double wrap is going to be the hardest and require some flexibility through your ankle. So that's why it's not always doable for everyone, and a single wrap is totally fine. Let's go ahead and take eagle wrapped arms, left arm on the bottom. Start to bend into your knees. Lift your left leg up and over. So you want it, the higher you go, the easier it will be to get that double wrap. Single wrap is great, otherwise tuck your left toes behind your right calf. Swing your knees a little to the left and your elbows a little to the right. Think about your joints being stacked and slowly lower yourself down. Pull your belly button back and knit your ribs. Gentle tuck of your chin, you feel the crown of your head lift. Sit down low. Keep thinking knees left, elbows right for 3, 2, 1. Rise all the way up. The hardest part here is maintaining balance and continuing to keep the knees and elbows in one line. It's a constant engagement, and you're constantly thinking about getting the elbows and the knees directly in center instead of one falling one way and the other way. As you do that, you might be looking around the room. What I really recommend is choosing one spot to focus your gaze. In all of these balancing postures, my best balancing tip is just to choose a drishti or a focal point and focus on that the entire time. It makes balancing way easier. The second balancing tip I have is your core. The more you engage your core and pull your belly button back, the more you pull your ribs towards your hips and your hips up towards your ribs, the easier these poses are going to be. You're going to feel more stable. Let's go ahead and I'll show you side to side. I'm turning sideways on my mat, and I will eagle wrap my right arm underneath my left arm. Bend my knees, lift my right leg up and over. Single wrap, use toes as a kickstand, or double wrap are all great. Now you'll notice most people like to hinge a little bit forward here. I want to lean the shoulders back over the hips and sit down nice and low. Feel a gentle lift through the crown of the head. Knees right, elbows left, and release. We'll do that on the other side. Eagle wrap, left arm under right, bend knees, left leg up, over, kickstand, single wrap, or double wrap. Knees come to the left, more towards the center, elbows a little right, choosing a focal point, sit down nice and low. Shoulders over hips, forearms forward, feel space between the shoulder blades. Continue breathing for 3, 2, 1, unwind. All right, I hope that gave you some different variations for eagle pose, different tips and tricks. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week.